Hey guys, today I wanted to talk a little bit with you briefly about the most powerful drug ever created by the human mind, which is nostalgia. I feel it just like the rest of you do. I look at a simpler time, like, 2005, 2006 for me, RuneScape, doing nothing else, just, sitting at the Barbarian Village, getting trout all day. I know a lot of you aren't even going to understand what I'm saying when I say this, but just know it's a video game you play online. It's like a multiplayer online game. And there I was, just minding my own business, just a kid, cruising along, playing RuneScape, roller skating, good times, right? Watching Saturday morning cartoons with my brother, playing Yu-Gi-Oh, etc. And now here we are, 20 years later, in 2026. The world has changed pretty drastically since then. I no longer use MySpace for one. I know a lot of you don't either, although I see it's making a comeback, or it's supposed to be coming back, I guess. If there is, I'm sure we'll all jump on it for a minute, create a top 8, and then forget about it. But I wanted to talk to you about nostalgia as a whole and why I think people sometimes have the wrong mindset on nostalgia. And once again, these I was going to say videos, these audios are just my opinion, right? Nothing I say here is meant to be taken in a way that you have to feel the same way I feel. I'm just kind of sharing my own position on this. And the reason I decided to make this audio series as a whole, anyway, was because I get so many requests from people that I talk to that I have these conversations pretty repeatedly, and I decided, you know what, you may as well just say it in a video or something, and let people watch it. So anyway, so let's have like a brief 10-minute conversation about nostalgia, why I think it's really good, what I think is great about it, and why I think sometimes it's highly misleading to people, including myself. I really had to do a lot of self-evaluation. I do a lot of self-evaluation. That's why I was really thinking about this. So in the case of nostalgia, like I was talking about before, I think about, like some of my earliest memories, because I'm 33, I'll be 34 this year. So that puts me as an early 90s, child and baby. And so I was around 9 years old or 8 years old when, the world was destroyed in Y2K, when NSYNC was popular, when Blue was on the radio, and when Pokemon cards were first released, along with the Game Boy Color. And so I remember a lot of these things like they were pretty much yesterday to me. Staying up late with the little light that you put on the Game Boy Color, and you have to beat Pokemon. I had Silver. I don't know what other people had, but I still have that, by the way. I still play Pokemon Silver, except for the battery just died on the cartridge and I lost my save, so that really sucked. But other than that, I remember those kind of being my first memories, right? Like late 90s, Ed, Edd n Eddy coming out on Cartoon Network, things like that. And I think about those times just like everybody else does, and you can't help but smile and remember, right, that these were great times. This was a part of your life that's a great chapter. If you think about your life as like a chapter book, right, that chapter is a really good chapter for me. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way about certain parts of their life too, whether it be childhood, teenagers, whatever it is. And what they're doing is they're thinking at their life today, and they're looking at the world, and they're looking at the world then, and they're saying, wow, it was so much better then than it is now. I argue that while I agree with you to an extent about many things, that there are things that in your mind you remember them being drastically better then than they were now. I think both things can be true at once, which is those could be times in your mind that you remember as much better times, that crisp 2005 school book fair morning that you're remembering, or now, you go outside now and you're like, this air ain't crisp. I know how you feel. I trust me, I'm a human. I'm just like the rest of you guys. So I know exactly how you feel. But in order to feel good about where life is going and where you're headed, you can't always live in the past. This is a problem that I had for many years of my life. The reason I'm qualified, at least I feel in my own life, to talk about this is because I was stunted in my growth pretty heavily as a kid. And so I never really felt like I grew up. I felt like I had to grow up really fast when I reached my late 20s. I felt like I kind of got stuck at 16 and then I stopped. And then I suddenly was an adult when I turned 30. And I feel like, I don't know if other people feel that same way. I lived at home with my parents for an extra long time, super past when you're supposed to. All this stuff. And so like I used to look at my life and think like, yeah, things were certainly much, much better during like this nostalgic period of 2000 and 2008 or whatever it was. I was listening to the Fall Out Boy and the Academy is, and life was so good. And all I cared about was roller skating and whatnot. And I do agree that there is a part of your life that you look back on and you think, wow, that was an amazingly fun time. The issue is that you can never recreate those times, right? This is like the Gatsby problem. If you watch Gatsby or you read the book, and it's like he's trying to recreate his original relationship and he can't do it. It's the time's different. She's older, he's older, the world has changed, and they can't create that same relationship. The big like letdown or the big disappointment or part that's so depressing about Gatsby is that he doesn't learn to just live in the now. She wants to be with him now, but he wants it to be exactly like it was, and it can't be that way instead of just living in the now. And nostalgia is a pretty crazy drug, man. It really does make you, it can make you cry, it can make you happy, it can make you all these things. And for most people, I think it makes us sad. I don't really know why that happens. I'm not really sure myself why it kind of makes you sad when you think about nostalgia. Just because you miss times that existed and you wish you could recreate those again, and you know that you can't. But what I'm saying is, and what I would say is that for people who have those same feelings like me, because like I said, I'm just like you guys. Is I eventually had to learn that the future can be super awesome too. And if you're always living in the past, you're never trying to improve your life, or you're never trying to make your life better today. You're never thinking about how things can be super cool for you now. So you're always stuck in a position of, well, life's just so sucky now because of XYZ. Oh, this is sucky because this changed, or this is sucky because that changed. And while I understand you, I really do, you kind of, it's so much better for you to look with the mindset of how the future can be amazing for you and how you can get everything you want now. For example, one thing that's kind of cool about nostalgia mixed with the future is that you have access to all of those same things now. So like if you want to play a Game Boy Color, I can get one. I have it now. I don't have to wait for the stuff to come out. I have it right now. If I want access to any PlayStation game I ever wanted to play, like Kingdom Hearts or something like that, I have it now. You know, I can do that now. I have access to all of these amazing things I used to have. And I can still talk to plenty of people about them and still get that same kind of high off talking to people about what it was like to play RuneScape in 2006. I was there during the Falador Massacre. Like, I was in the game during that time. So, like, I can talk about those things. But I don't need to look back on it and think about how disappointed I am because those times no longer exist. It is painful to have to close a chapter of your life, a book that you love, a chapter of your book that you love, and you don't really want it to close. But there's such a thing that happens when the book chapter is going to end, whether you like it or not. It's just one of those things. You can't stop the chapter from finishing and concluding its end. But what you can do is you can move into the next chapter with as equal amount of excitement and feelings of fun and being upbeat and all that stuff and optimism as the last chapter that you closed. A lot of life and a lot of your mindset around nostalgia comes around to feeling like we felt so optimistic. We felt so that the world was so optimistic and it was such a cool place and all that stuff. You know, a lot of that I understand disappears because of your ingestion of news and world things and all that stuff. As you grow up, you start to learn things you didn't know then. I think that's what kind of takes that away from you. But your mind is a pretty powerful tool, and you're able to drive it to do what you want. So if you're strong enough to drive your mind to look at the chapter of the life that you're currently in, and you can tell yourself, this chapter is going to be so much better than the last one. I'm going to make this chapter so much better, because you know what's going to happen, and this is the part that most people don't understand. You're going to look back on this chapter of your life 15 years from now with the same level of nostalgia. And you're going to say, wow, and you know what's funny? Because I already see people doing it about 2015 and 2016 and 2017. And you know what people in 2015, 16, 17 were doing? They were being nostalgic about 2004 and 5. So this is the natural way that it happens. And you know what's funny is people getting excited about things like a Blockbuster still being open, which, by the way, I live in the state where Blockbuster still exists, where one does. And things like that is that, like, when you see people my age, like early 30s, who say, we should just have a town where like everything's like the 90s. It's like a Blockbuster and a Hollywood Video, and it's like the mall, and it's, you know, the problem is we sound exactly like boomer generation that says that about the 1950s, where they're like, we should just have diners again and Elvis, and we should just have, like, we sound exactly the same. We sound just like them. And the reality of the situation, the way I see it, is that you need that. It's so much better to write the next chapter of your life, to take all of your previous chapters, take all of the good from them, and write them into this new chapter with you. Not being nostalgic doesn't mean you don't have to have good feelings about your history and feel strongly about your past and where you've been and what you've done. and the shame for the mistakes you've made that you randomly think of, like when you're standing in the shower and it makes you cringe and stuff like that. Because remember, these these audios are meant to be pretty brutally honest with myself and with you. And I'm not like trying to pretend like I'm somebody I'm not. I face all the same issues that everybody else faces. But I would say that nostalgia is a great thing to have in your mind and to feel good about, like all the things that you did and where you've been, and to look at old toys or items that you had or PlayStations and think about all the good times you had. The first time you fired up Halo 3, online and saw everybody on, and all these things, right? And the same thing goes with the internet game, the nostalgia of running pop-up traffic in 2012 and the old affiliate summits and the Wild West part of it and all this. And at the end of the day, like I said, I think that my opinion is that the best thing you can do for yourself is to understand that nostalgia is a drug. It's a strong drug, and it can be used for positive or negative based on your mindset about it. My opinion on the subject to you or anybody else listening is that you should still keep nostalgia happily in your heart where you want it, because it has a place in your heart and your soul. But you should also live in the now and look forward to a brighter future. Because you can make your life so good if you focus on the now, even by taking small baby steps to make your life awesome today. And then in 10 years, you'll feel nostalgic about how you were today. I already feel nostalgic about 2015, but in 2015, I felt nostalgic about 2005. So, and I'm already looking back now that I have kids that are younger and growing. I'm going to feel nostalgic about the 2020s, even though we had COVID and all that, because my kids are growing up during this era. So I'm going to look back on things during this time, like playing Roblox with them, playing Minecraft with them, and feel nostalgic about it. Because this for me is another nostalgic chapter in my book. So I just wanted to make that audio for people today, other than myself, to talk about nostalgia and kind of like how important it is, and that it does have a proper place in your life, but that you shouldn't always get tied up in it, and you shouldn't let it control how you feel about your life now, because that's you comparing your life. I made a video recently about comparison. That's you comparing yourself to a previous historical version of yourself, and it's kind of unfair to current you to compare yourself against historical, parts of your life where you didn't know certain things and the world was different. So I would say, look, make your life the best you can now. Write the strongest chapter you can for yourself today, and keep writing fun chapters for your future. Stop focusing so much on act 1 of the book. Start focusing on act 2 or 3 or wherever you are. Start focusing on where you are now. You'll be a lot happier if you stop telling yourself constantly that everything was better before and that the world's gone to nothing now. I don't think that's true at all. I think that the world is still an amazing place to exist. I think that anybody can make their situation better in their mind if they are more optimistic. I know that there are people that will disagree and say, well, my situation's awful and there's no way. And I know I'm not in a position that other people are. I know that maybe have it much harder than me, but I'm just saying, like, as far as nostalgia is concerned, try to live in the modern era and try to make your life the way you want it today, while still accounting for your nostalgic history. I think that both can be done positively, and that way you don't fall into the slump of feeling depressed about things in your life being better at a different point. You can make them good today too, and you can write really cool chapters for the rest of your book. So anyway, that's it for today, guys. I don't really know why I chose nostalgia. When I just choose a random subject, I'm just going to make an audio for it and throw it out there. If people like it or don't like it, it's going to be whatever. This is just me being brutally honest. So all right, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.